And we are live.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, perfect. So we are live. There's a tiny lag, but we're good.
Okay.
Welcome to Write With Us Live. First installation with Ariana Brown. There we go.
Thank you, Alan. Very official. Um, yeah, welcome everybody to Write With Us Live, a digital summer poetry workshop series co-facilitated by Alan and myself. Um, since we are in this kind of digital live stream space and we can't actually see and hear from everybody personally, we'd just love if you can say hi, drop a greeting, let us know where you're tuning in from in the live chat. And we're so glad that you all chose to spend some time writing with us today. We're really excited to get into things. I just want to start by talking about why we wanted to put this series together. Um, Both of us have taught workshops before, and it's something we do regularly as touring artists and performers, um, as a way of building community and also generating and creating work, which feels really important to focus on right now. The idea of creating things together in community, especially when we're also far apart. So we wanted to do a regular weekly series that people could tune into and literally write with us in real time live. So this after this video is over, after each workshop, the videos will be saved and archived on Alan's YouTube page. So if you miss a workshop or you miss something and you want to go back to it, you'll be able to return to the video. I will be working on captioning each video after we do them. Captioning is a lot of work, and I'm doing my best. So I will go as fast as I can, and we'll let you know when the videos have captions. Um, Other than that, oh, also the series is free. Uh, because we feel like that's really important. It's open access, it's free access. There's no registration, no applications, no fees. We want it to be as open as possible so that way it could reach as many people as possible. So that being said, if you are someone who has wealth privilege and you have a few extra funds to donate, Alan's Venmo and Cash App information and my Venmo and Cash App information are below the video in the description box on YouTube. And so we appreciate anything that you're able to give to help the series go forward. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to, should I introduce you now, Alon?
Oh, if you want.
Okay. Or unless you had something else first.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Okay. Okay. So this is the official bio reading of Alan Pelaez Lopez, who will be doing tech support during this workshop and will be the lead facilitator for next week's workshop. So, Alan Pelaez Lopez is an Afro Indigenous poet, installation, and adornment artist from Oaxaca, Mexico. They are the author of Intergalactic Travels, Poems from Fugitive Alien, which is incredible, from the Operating System Press, and To Love and Mourn in the Age of Displacement from Nomadic Press, which is also incredible. They live in Oakland, California, and organize nationally with Black LGBTQIA plus migrants and other people who throw down with the work and ain't about the clout. Catch them dragging Latinidad on Instagram, a very important community service, crying at coffee shops pre-COVID, and dancing bachata in a cute little jumpsuit. And you can follow them online at Migrant Scribble.
Oh, damn. Thank you for that intro. I forgot that I said that I drag Latinidad.
You do
But I
regularly.
do sometimes, like in the mornings, Uh, but yeah, thank you everybody for joining in. I want to introduce Ariana, who will be facilitating today's Radically Tender workshop. So this is Ariana's official bio. Ariana Brown is a queer, Black, Mexican American poet from the south side of San Antonio, Texas. She is the author of Sana Sana, a poetry chapbook with Game Over Books, and a 2014 National Collegiate Poetry Slam champion. Ariana's work investigates queer Black personhood in Mexican American spaces, spirituality, and healing. She is currently studying to be a librarian. Find her poems and rants at Ariana the Poet on Instagram and Twitter. And that is Ariana, who I am so excited. I've been a fan of Ariana for a really long time, and we first connected on Facebook. And it's been years of friendship, and it's just like growing each year. So thank you for joining us, Ariana. Um, I'm going to do a little bit of a tech rundown for you. The way that this series works is Ariana and I are live streaming through StreamYard. And through StreamYard, we see all your comments, and then StreamYard is streaming onto the YouTube Live. I can pop up any of your comments into our live stream, which is fantastic. If you're not following us on Instagram, you should really be following us at Right With Us Live, because there's going to be moments where you can share the poetry that you're generating, and what you will do is you will send us a DM. A few people have already, so thank you so much. I'll send you a link to Instagram where you just click on the link. I think you click through the link through your desktop. You can click it through an iPad, potentially through your phone, unsure. But once you do that, you'll be able to join us. So please follow us. And like Ariana said, the videos will be captioned when this is over. It will be archived. You can take the workshop at any time. So if you only have half an hour right now, you can start the workshop now and then finish it later. Definitely share this with your networks. And if there's any questions that come up, send them our way on the YouTube Live. And when we have moments to answer the questions, I will pop them up. So enjoy today's workshop. I'm going to hand it off to Ariana.
Thank you, Alan. I was going to say something else about tech things, but I don't remember what it was. So if it comes up, I'll share it. Okay. So the only things you will need for, oh, that's what it was, is that the workshops are non continuous. There's no continuity between workshops. So there's no homework or anything like that. Or like if you miss a workshop and want to attend the next one, you don't have to have prepared anything. So you can tune in to whichever workshop you want to. Okay, that's what I was going to say. So now today's workshop is called Radically Tender. And I've taught this a couple of different times in different formats. Never in this format before. So Alana and I are kind of we're on a bit of a learning curve here, trying this for the first time. So thank you for participating with us. So the first thing is you'll just need something to write with and something to write on. So if you write on your computer, you're already good. But if you're watching on like an iPad or phone, you might want to have a notebook and a pen or a pencil. Oh, thank you for letting me know that it's harder to hear me.
Does this sound better for folks? Someone in the comments said that it was difficult to hear me. Is it easier to hear me now? Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank y'all for letting us know. If there are other technical things that come up like that, let us know as soon as possible so we can make sure everyone is on board and can hear everyone. So I was just saying that you'll just need something to write with and something to write on. So if you have a notebook, pen and pencil, or if you have a tab open in your computer where you can write, then that's good to go. So today's workshop is Radically Tender. And if you're here, you've probably seen the flyers that we posted about this. This workshop is about the possibilities of tenderness, of self-care, and communal care. These are all things that are interconnected, which I also feel like is really important to think about in this moment that we're in right now, historically. It's really important, I think, for us to be asking ourselves, how are we taking care of ourselves and each other? That's my main check-in question for other people right now is, how are you taking care of yourself in the midst of everything going on? So with that said, the first things that I want to do, I want to talk about this book first. I'm going to read a poem or two from it. It's called America Mine by Sasha Banks. And there is a link in the YouTube description box to purchase this book, as well as Sasha's Instagram page, where you can follow her and find out more about her work. but I feel like I don't know about you, Alan, but I feel like I have a hard time writing through anger. And I feel like it's just one of those emotions that when I feel it, I'm like, oh, I actually can't write from this place. I can write about it much later. But when I'm in the midst of it, it feels really hard, I think, to put names to those feelings and emotions. And I feel like this book really explores rage and grief and what that means for Black people surviving the empire. So I want to start today's workshop by reading, I think, 2 poems from America Mine. So there's a series of poems that imagine the end of the United States of America and what comes after it. And so there's a series, they're all named America, and then it's in various stages of collapse, and then the number of the poem. So I'm going to read the 2 poems in the middle, America Collapse 2 and America Post Collapse 3. So I'll give this as offering, these 2 poems, and then we'll get into the exercises for the workshop. Okay. America Collapse 2. Oh, Alan, if you're following along, it's on page 17. Okay. America Collapse 2. I saw a city crumbling into the mouth of a many-headed beast. The beast was not the terror. She was my cousin. The terror was the sudden knowing that all empires are made of paper and damned religions. I will tell you the horror, and that is of the crumbling city's silence. Yes, its people had mouths, and yes, they were stuffed with the broke-off limbs of the conquered, refusing their shouting breath. Elbow, fibula, knee, the innocuous become the silencer, the way the small do become the mighty, with new big bodies and opposable tongues. Everything does weep, but oh, how it growls when the wailing is done. If anger, on the other side of fear, is rage, this city was delivered to death with savage conviction. I saw the beast lick the sinew from her jaws, and the city, it was still and clean, new and clean, bright and clean, and clean, and clean as the blood on my face. Okay. America Post-Collapse 3. You will remember nothing but the taste of salt and how it's in everything and how it never changes, even though everything else does. And so you will cry and be fed. A woman will stand in the street and open her mouth one summer night, noiseless for hours until she retches up a star, hot thing covered in mucus. I want to say something like, it turns out that the sun had a face, which implies a mouth that knew all your names. But the truth is, there will never have been any sun, only the North Star after all. It will fall down and land behind a woman's house in Detroit. It will be dark for weeks, and everyone's eyes will glow. Here and now will be the kind of faded memory, like waking from a dream that loosens its grip as you become wider and wider awake. At the grocery store, you will hear someone whistling the old anthem. They will not be able to remember anything more than, oh, say, can you? Nobody will. Such is the case with ruins, ancient histories, blurry faces everywhere, smeared by the fists of their conquerors. Before today ends, statues will be plucked from their high places all over the country. This should be the first sign, but white people will not see themselves in this sure demise. They will learn. There will be no flag anymore. Many will dream of eagles eaten by crows, pecked to death by crows. A woman will tell of seeing a crow pulling all the feathers from a dead eagle. None will remember this time, but the crows will, and so they will eat the grudge for your sakes. America will be done, and you will know it when the Statue of Liberty sits down to wash her face in the Hudson. Her skin will be black. Your grandmothers will weep. Okay.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I always feel like I have to take a deep breath after reading poems from this book. Alana and I were just talking about this book before the workshop started, that it's not a book you can read all at once in one sitting. There's so much. It explores anger from so many different places and takes it as far as it can go, which is to the destruction of America and the creation of something new. So this is America Mine by Sasha Banks. If you enjoyed those poems, and maybe I'll share something later to kick off the sharing part of the workshop, but definitely support Sasha. Okay. All right. So if, someone asked if we could share the title again, and if Sasha has an Instagram account, that information is in the description box below the YouTube video. So if you're typing in the live chat, it's on the right side of the screen, and the video is in the main part, and then right below the video is the description, and you can find all that information there. Cool beans. All right. So also in the description box is the link to the Google Doc for the workshop. You don't have to pull that up. I will be sharing my screen in StreamYard here, and you'll see what's on my screen, what's on the Google Doc. But in case you are on a laptop or a desktop computer and you want to have them side by side for clarity, then you can do that. So I've made the Google Doc link available in the description box. So yes, so I'm going to ask you some questions, and I would like for you to respond in the chat. I know I just said we're sharing a Google Doc, but because this is an open access course or workshop, and we are trying to maintain a safe virtual space as possible, you're not allowed to edit the Google Doc. So the only people that have editing permissions are Alana and myself. So the Google Doc is mostly just for, so you see the information. Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen. Let's try that. So you can see what's in the Google Doc. All right. I feel like I can make this full screen. There we go. Okay, and I'm gonna zoom in so you have a better view. All right, let's see what that looks like. Okay, nice. Okay, so the first question that I'd like for you to answer in the chat, and as you type answers in the chat, I'll be adding the answers to the Google Doc so we can see it in real time. So the first question I'd like you to answer is, what are some words that come to mind when you hear the word power? And I want you to think about specifically power as it's understood in society. So what are some words that come to mind when you hear the word power? Just type them in the chat. White men, yeah. Control, fear, danger, force. Wow, there's so many people here. There's so many answers all at once. I see greed, domination, men, abuse, excess, aggression, harm, violence, privilege, physical strength, capital. Yeah. Manipulation. Yeah. Yeah. I think these are great answers. I think we have enough now. Thank you all for that. If we can go to the next question, let's see. What are some words that come to mind when you hear the word tender? Words that come to mind when you hear the word tender. Mama. Yeah, I love that. Sweetness, soothe, beautiful, practice. Yeah, listening, give, exposed. Yeah, tenderness is a kind of vulnerability, I think. Touch, gentle, kindness. Yeah, safe vulnerability. Yeah, cooking, warmth, earth. I like that. Holding, nurturing. Mhm. Plantains. Nourishment, prayer, open. I think that's a great word. Love, acceptance. Okay, I think we have enough for that one. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for your responses. All such comforting words, I feel like. Yes, we're on exercise 2 right now. Okay. I want to think about just hearing and seeing the list that we made right now, the words for power and the words for tender. If you can answer in the chat, and Alon, maybe you can jump in with a response too. If what differences do you notice between these two lists? I mean, I feel like just going through the feeling that you get when hearing these words is immediate. But yeah, what differences do you notice between the list of words for power and the list of words for tender?
It feels like the list for power, for me at least, when I'm looking at it, control, force, danger, fear, racism, harm, brutality. A lot of it seems like it's institutional. And it's like a collective that's doing it. And when I see the words for tender, rage, sweetness, love, soothe, beautiful, listening, give, it feels more like individual, like listening, right? An individual is listening, give, an individual is giving, exposed, you expose yourself, safe, hold. I mean, both tenderness and power are intimate, but it seems like the words in power, it's about like collectivity and massive, and then for tender, it seems like it's more individual. Um, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Alon. I think a lot about, and I feel like this is coming up in the chat too, that yeah, right, that institutional versus community, or that the way that we were we were conceiving of power in that exercise was negative, right, and had to do a lot with harm, and specifically with institutional things or external things outside the body, things outside the self, that create, maintain, and perpetuate harm and violence. Power is built, tender is grown. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, and this question, why don't we see tenderness as power, is really the impetus behind this workshop. I think maybe one of the answers to this question, why don't we see tenderness as power, is because in the capitalist world that we live in, that's not something that's valued. It's not something that will help you. Tenderness is not something that will help you achieve power in society. But it doesn't mean that it's not important, right? And I think if we think about if you come from any kind of marginalized background, you know how powerful tenderness is. It's an antidote in a lot of ways to the loneliness of oppression. And it is the thing that grows communities, that nurtures people, that allows us to survive the empire, that allows us to survive impossible circumstances. So that's really what I want to move into. Yeah, somebody said it's life-saving. It absolutely is life-saving. So that's what I want to move into with the next few exercises. Um, so yeah, everyone who's brought up thinking about tenderness as a source of power. I think um, when I was putting this workshop together, I wanted to think about a kind of power that has nothing to do with the ability to cause harm. A kind of power that is resourceful, that creates, that cultivates life instead of finding ways to destroy it or to have power over it. So to this, I'm going to scroll down a little bit on the Google Doc. If y'all can name in the chat, I feel like most folks are familiar right now with the 5 love languages. If you can name just at least one of the love languages in the chat, and we'll write them here on the Google Doc. Thank you, Alan, with these notes in real time. Yeah, so we have acts of service as the first one. I see physical touch. Words of affirmation, gift giving, and quality time. Y'all are so quick with that. Let's see.
They really were.
Okay. Perfect. And I just want to give a little bit of a primer for anyone who's not familiar with the 5 love languages. It's this idea that there are specific ways that each person prefers to receive love and give love. So someone might prefer, and that can change from relationship to relationship. So it might be that with your significant other or others, that you prefer physical touch or quality time. But with family members or friends, you might prefer words of affirmation or gift giving or something like that. So it just sort of depends person to person. And the idea is that if you know somebody's love language and you know your own love language, then you're able to care for them in the ways that they can receive it best. So for example, I feel like most of these are pretty straightforward, but I just want to explain acts of service. Sometimes folks have a hard time thinking about what is an example of that. So for example, my mom really does not like to receive gifts. I feel like that has a lot to do with like money and class things. She just thinks it's like a waste of money. She's very upset when people give her gifts. She's like, I would much prefer that you wash the dishes for me, or that you do the laundry for me, or that you vacuum the living room or something. And that would be an example of an act of service, something that actually helps somebody's life and makes it a little bit easier, as opposed to buying, my mom calls them chingaderas, like things that you don't need. So, okay. So now that we know what the 5 love languages are, thank y'all. I would like for you on whatever surface you're writing on to identify your love language. What is the way that you prefer to receive love? And it might be that there are 2 or 3 of these that feel really important to you. So go ahead and write those those 2 or 3 things down for you. And I'm participating too, so I'm writing these down. I see a lot of folks in the chat saying that that your moms are the same way. I'm here with you. So I know for me, it varies, I think, from person to person, but generally my love languages, I feel like I have two primary love languages, and they are quality time and physical touch. Um, and I feel like that's just part of like how I grew up. I have a lot of cousins, and we're a very like physically affectionate family. So we do lots of tickling, lots of hugging and holding each other, and just like being silly in a physical kind of way. Um, and I really, really appreciate quality time. I would much rather be on a long phone call with a friend for hours than like go to a party with them or something like that.
I can confirm that.
And as far as like how I give love to other people, I really like gift giving. I think I have a knack for it. I feel like I'm really good at identifying what another person might need or be interested in. Yeah, so there's that. So now that we have those things, we all know each other and ourselves a little bit better. We're going to move on to exercise 4 on the Google Doc, which is for you to write a list of 3 to 5 ways you show tenderness or compassion to others. Now, these can include examples of the 5 love languages. So it might be, but I want you to be specific. So if you say that that you show tenderness or compassion to others by gift giving, then what kind of gifts do you give them? I used to make mix CDs for my friends in high school. Maybe now you would make a Spotify playlist. But whatever those examples are, 3 to 5 ways you show tenderness or compassion to others. Thank you, Alon, with the banner. Go ahead and keep making your lists if you're still working on them. I love that folks are already beginning to share the ways they show tenderness and compassion to others. Somebody said, Ariana said that you make sure your friends are eating. That is so important. That is so important. Make sure that your friends are eating, that they're hydrated, that they've rested. You know, it's easy to forget to do those things for yourself. So getting that reminder from someone who loves you, I feel like it feels very caring for a lot of folks. Okay. Alon, would you be down to share maybe a few things from your list?
Yeah, I can share. So one of the things that I do is when it's hard to speak or witness kind of what my friends are saying, I hold their hands and I massage their hands. It's kind of my go-to when conversations get hard. And there's this thing that like I feel like all my relationships all my family lives in the other coast of the country. So I think just kind of like insisting on being alive around them, even though I'm not there, has helped. And my mom taught me that because there used to be weeks where I wouldn't call my mom and she would get so mad at me and then be like, I didn't call you for a month because I'm mad. And I was like, oh, I didn't know we were upset at each other. So now I'm like, I'll send my mom selfies and I'll just send her random things as a way to be like, hey, I'm thinking about you.
so important. I feel like that's a very like family thing. I feel like I have uncles on my dad's side that are very much that way, that they don't really want like a long, well, this is not exactly what you said, but I feel like tangentially, like my uncles don't really want a long check-in phone call or anything like that. They just want to see a picture of me from time to time and know that I'm alive and doing things. It's a way of checking in
Exactly.
still, right? Like, yeah, just like a quick visual confirmation. Okay, I see you out in the world. That's funny.
Yeah, and I'll also send them pictures of food because my mom is convinced that I don't know how to cook, but I'm really good at it.
Is that everybody's mom? I feel.
Probably.
Oh my god, that's funny. um, yeah, I feel like, and sometimes the ways that you show tenderness or compassion to others are really quick or like very small things or very practical things. For example, I used to give my cousin rides to work all the time. She didn't have a license or a car, but needed to get to work. That's a really important way to show that you care for someone, is to show up in those sort of practical ways to help them meet their needs as well. Okay, the next exercise I want you to move on to is exercise number 5, and it's the same exercise we just did, but ways that you show tenderness or compassion to yourself. 3 to 5 ways you show tenderness or compassion to yourself. And please be specific with these as well. I see some folks in the chat mentioning that this exercise about how you show tenderness or compassion to yourself feels much harder than the ways that you show it to others. And I feel like that's a thing that comes up often for people, is that it's often easy to name the ways that we are willing to go above and beyond for our loved ones, and it's much harder to think about how do we show up for ourselves actually. Yeah. So you're not alone in thinking that and feeling that way.
Stephanie Orenta says that doing this workshop is one of the ways.
I love that. And you showed up for yourself today if you're here. So shout out to you. And maybe for those of you who are feeling like this exercise feels really hard to think about, take a look in the chat and see how other folks are naming the ways that they take care of themselves too.
I really like this question.
Would you like to share some of your responses, Alan, to this question?
Yeah, I feel like one of my love languages is physical touch, and I feel like when I'm at a place where I'm absolutely defeated or feel like I'm about to decompose, I prefer touch over any speaking. Like I'd rather just sit with a friend and either have them like go like this on my back or on my arm and just kind of like sit in silence. Because I think that often my body doesn't feel mine, and I think sitting in silence with somebody and them like touching me reminds me that I have a body and that it is mine. Um, and also, I kind of go through photos of friends to remind myself that even in the midst of oppression, we not only resisted, but we lived, we laughed, we cried, we were messy. Yeah, because sometimes I'm like, what else is there to this? But I look at these photos and I'm like, oh yeah, that moment lived alongside the trauma, but also outside of the trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that you do that as a practice, looking through photos. That's such a great, and I feel like photos are a thing that we're supposed to take so that we can return to them, right? So that we can return to that moment. And I feel like, yeah, I love the idea of making that a practice, so that you actually do go back to those moments instead of just letting them, you know. Yeah, that's oh wow. I'm gonna write that down because I feel like that's a thing I could do more often as well. That's the other thing I like about this workshop is getting ideas of ways to care for yourself and others from other people's examples. Look through old photos and yeah, I feel like a lot of people have time now. now that a lot of folks are staying at home, so go through those Facebook albums. Maybe delete some folks too while you're at it. Anyway, um, yeah, I think from my list, I wanted to share. Going back to the idea of making these things a practice, something I do regularly that I try to do at least every couple of days is that I feel like often I'm holding so much in my brain, and that I have to be focused for such a long period of time when I'm working or doing homework or whatever, that I try to take at least a couple of hours, like every couple of days, if I have the time, or at least once a week or something. And I just kind of wander YouTube and watch whatever videos I want, and it's a wide range of things. I watch a lot of live Beyonce performances. I watch a lot of like, uh, yeah, goofy things that I enjoy a lot. But what it really does is it just gives my mind the space to wander, so that it doesn't have to be focused on anything in particular. But I just get to, yeah. And sometimes the videos I'm watching, I'm not really even enjoying them, but my mind is somewhere else, and that feels really important too. Okay, so now that you have your lists of ways that you show tenderness or compassion to others and to yourself, these are all sort of building up to the next thing I would like you to do, which is I'm about to give y'all the writing prompt. So this is at the very bottom of the Google Doc. Let's see if there's a way. Yeah, I just wanted it to be higher on the screen. Okay. So I'm going to give y'all the prompt, and then I'm going to set aside 10 or so minutes so that you can write to it. And we'll sort of check in after that 10-minute mark and see where people are at if you want more time. So now that we've spent all this time talking about tenderness, softness, what they mean, and how they show up for us, I want you to think about, so there are 2 prompts listed here, and you can do one or the other, or if you would like to combine them both into the same poem, then you're welcome to do that. So the first prompt is, what are some ways the world has tried to keep you from being tender or soft? The following question is the same question, but reworded in case it's helpful. So how has the world tried to harden you and keep you on the defensive? That's prompt number 1. Prompt number 2 is, how do you maintain your tenderness? So like I said, you can choose one or the other, or write a piece that answers all of the questions. Before we go into writing time, does anyone have any questions about the writing prompt moving forward? If you do, just put them in the chat. Otherwise, we are going to have 10 minutes of writing time. If you want to put on some lo-fi instrumentals in the background to help you get into that space, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, I will check in with you all in 10 minutes and we'll go from there.
Should I put some Lineker on?
Some what?
Lineker?
Is
She's a
this an
Brazilian artist.
Did the songs have lyrics? Because I wonder if
They do.
instrumentals might be helpful for folks right now.
Okay.
right, y'all. Let us know in the chat if you need a few more minutes to write. If you need a few more minutes to write, just write yes in the chat. That way we know. Okay, we'll do a few more minutes and then I'll check in with y'all then. Keep
this is kind of deep.
Alan, if you have any more instrumentals, please and thank you. All right, y'all, go ahead and come to a stopping point. Make your last notes, finish your last line. Okay, and we're back. I would love to know how that was for people. Maybe just in the chat, y'all can let us know what that process was like, trying to answer those questions in the prompt. It seemed like a lot of people needed more time to write. Alan, I'm curious for you as well how that felt.
Yeah, I started writing, had no idea where I was going, and I ended up in a childhood event where I kind of like beat up this other boy. I was like a wild child in elementary school. So I went there.
Okay.
And I've never written about it. I think about it often, like who I used to be as a child. But yeah, that was
Okay.
rough.
Yeah, so you weren't joking when you were like, this is kind of deep.
Yeah, I was not.
Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. um, yeah, I'm just looking at everyone's responses. Yeah, it seems like people had a range of experiences that some folks had a very like soft and sort of like tender experience responding to the prompts, and some folks had it seems like quite an intense experience responding to these questions. Good. That sounds like maybe the prompt was challenging in a way that felt useful, which I'm glad to hear. Someone wrote a song. That's amazing. Oh yeah, I love that. Welcome to poetry. We're glad to have you. I think you may have noticed that I added a question to the writing prompt section on the Google Doc. And this is not a question that I want to have time, that I want to take time to have everyone respond to in the workshop, but this is like a take home question. So it's not like actually homework, right? Because you're not like turning anything in or anything like that. But if this workshop has felt helpful to you so far, and you would like to keep exploring this topic, a question for you to take home with you is, who in your life has shown you tenderness, and how did their tenderness impact you? I think earlier in the workshop, we were sort of talking about how for some folks, it was easier to think of ways that you show tenderness to others as opposed to ways you show it to yourself. And I think that that's pretty common for a lot of people, a lot of gender marginalized people in particular. And I think that can also be a starting point, right? Sometimes you have to see how tenderness is modeled, especially if it hasn't been shown to you in your life. Sometimes you have to think about, how have I seen other people give and receive tenderness? And then that can be a starting point for imagining how it can show up in your own life. So I think that this is a really important question too. So that's for you to take home with you and sit with and think about and write about if it feels helpful. What I would like to do now
Ariana,
is yeah. I would love to.
I have in a friend from Instagram, well, from the real world, that wants to join in and share a little bit.
Sure, let's do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me. All right.
There I am.
Hi.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. My name is Irene. I'm a poet, Black Mexican American poet from Houston. Yeah, and student. But yeah, I was so grateful to have this opportunity to write. I have been writing poems a lot. In a minute, I similarly I have a really hard time writing from a place of anger. And so it was nice to kind of be able to explore like the underside of that and like what I've been doing for myself right now to kind of counteract the anger that I'm feeling. I've also been cooking and gardening a lot. Those were things that I've been returned to in this little thing I wrote. It is peach season in Texas, and I am ready to call this body home again. Oh, basil and heirloom tomato, oh, blackberry and plum, I'm ready for you today. Here in my cut-off tank and the hat I wear for sinking my hands into the earth. Doesn't it feel good to be part of the family of things again? To collect your food scraps and return them to the dirt? The time for unplugging your senses for fear of the pain they would behold is over. Yes, the world still rages on. Yes, it's taken and taken your mother's time, your father's time, the time of all your tias and abuelas. It will take yours too if you let it. And the mint and scallion will not water themselves. Your tenderness, your gentle touch are depended upon.
Wow, that was wonderful, Irene. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. I don't know. I have such a hard time usually writing from prompts. But you guys did such a wonderful job of guiding us all through the process.
Oh, wow. I'm so glad to hear that. And I feel like I also relate to my partner really loves to cook, and they just started gardening. And so they're always talking about the weather now. They're always worried about if the plants are getting enough sun, or if they're getting enough water, or if they're getting, it just, or if they're the right temperature and all of that. But yeah, it is. I mean, what you're talking about is caring for yourself while caring for other living beings. And it's important. Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. I'm still kind of sitting with your word, like the world still rages on, right? And the returning to dirt, how you see power in that. Yeah, can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Irene. I'm wondering, should we bring one more person in?
Yeah, I'm down.
Or let me...
Let's do it.
Sorry. Okay, I think it's Gabriel. I'm about to send you the... Okay, thank you so much, Irene. We will see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
I think the feedback may have been my my headphones.
Okay. It might have also been my.
But I guess while we wait to bring in the person, yeah, I'm like, I wonder if I should like read a tiny bit or just share.
Alan?
Should I read a tiny bit or just share?
Whatever you want to do.
I'll read like the first like couple of lines. Okay. To be soft and black is to be alchemist and enemy. When I was young, a white girl once said to me, "You're not going to make it." And those words cut my pupils in half. I lost myself. Thought my softness and blackness were the problem. Thought roughness would shield me, would shape me. And oh, it did. but that roughness ached and caused pain. Once I took a stapler to the head and stomach of another Black boy. We were 11 or 12. That day, my mama taught me to go back and search for my softness, to ask myself what it meant to be a relative. She asked me what it also hasn't laughed. I haven't seen you laugh in weeks. She asked me to look for my softness, and some days I think I have found it. But this world, this moment makes it difficult to trust my softness. Who will be the last to be kind? Who will be the last to receive care? Who will be the first to break trust? It goes on, but I'll share that.
And how was that process for you, like writing about that?
It was hard because I think about that boy every now and then because I want to say sorry, but I never got to apologize in real life. And I'm just like, I really wish I could go and apologize or figure out a way how. So maybe this is a step, right? I remember his first name, don't remember his last name. So I have tried to look him up on the internet. No success yet.
Yeah, and that makes me think about, like, when we think about people that we have caused harm, however big or small, or however folks want to measure or conceive of that. Sometimes we don't get to make things right with that other person, but one of the things we can do, right, is like think about what our role was in that moment and how it's shaping the decisions we make now and how we show up in the world now. That was beautiful, and I'm curious to hear the rest maybe later whenever you want to share it.
Yeah, at a later point, I definitely will.
Okay.
Okay, I think you can continue, and then if Gabriel ends up joining, we can work on that. Oh, wait, they just joined. One sec. Hi, will you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Gabriel Pulido, friend of Ariana. Yeah.
I'm so glad you're here, Gabriel. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. I'm glad I can in any way that I can.
We would love to hear your piece whenever you're ready to share.
Right. Yes. This is rough, but here we are. So I answered, how do you maintain your tenderness? And this is how I answered. My tender stays between a rock and a hard place. Or is it the rock, hardened over time, waiting for a softened touch to welcome me home? Just a rock. There are no diamond metaphors. Do not focus on color or carrot or clarity or cut, but it can cut you. It is not fragile. Vulnerable, yes. I see my purpose perfectly. The responsibility does weigh on me, but it also colors everything around me. Still, my tender is a rock with jagged edges, scraped exterior, perfect weapon. It's been through it, tossed around so much I forgot it had value, survived masculinity until it sunk, had to live in the bottom of its ocean belly to see that my tenderness does not die. My tenderness is a lineage of my ancestors' hard work, and the world does not get to pressure it to change. Thank you all for having me. Yeah, there was an ad on the TV as I'm like listening to you all's workshop, and it was a diamond, and that thing just stayed in my mind. So that's where I went with it.
Wow. Go ahead, Alan. Were you going to respond?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, Lane, I used to survive masculinity until it sunk. it really struck because I think the first time we made the list on power, a lot of the things kind of seemed like masculine energy. And when you read that, I was like, yeah, it feels real. No idea what your experience is like, but yeah, thank you for writing that.
I think one of the things that struck me the most was the idea of tenderness as a journey. I think we lost Gabriel, but I think that Gabriel is still here
Yeah,
in the live stream. But yeah, one of the things that struck me the most was the idea of tenderness as a journey, as something that's Gabriel described tenderness as it's been through it, as something that that is growing and learning and figuring itself out. And I really, really like that idea, tenderness as a journey. Yeah, that it's not a thing that's fixed, but it is a thing that is shaped by the experiences that you have. Yeah. Thank you so much, Gabriel, for showing up and reading that. I haven't heard you read poems in so long. That was that was wonderful. Okay. For anyone wondering how we're adding people to share, before we do workshops every Sunday, like a day or two before, we will ask people on Instagram to pre-volunteer to read the work that they generate in the workshop. It might seem a little like extra for us to be asking ahead of time, but it's a way to keep, because Alana's doing tech, like one of us will be doing tech support while the other person is facilitating during the workshops. And so it's a way to keep labor manageable for the both of us. So if you would like to share for the next workshop, just keep an eye on our Instagram page a day or two before, and we'll be asking for volunteers again. Okay, Alana, if you have anyone else that wants to share.
Give me 1 sec. I'm waiting for a reply. Jesus, if you're still on and if you want to share, I just will send you the link. Okay. Perfect. 1 second. Okay. I think they are coming in. This is working. I'm so excited. The whole tech working. Thank you, everybody, for trusting and writing.
What's the name of the person joining us right now, Alan?
Jesus. Once again, as a reminder, this is our Instagram, so please follow and yeah, keep up to date. This is happening 7 more times, so this is going to be exciting. 7 more weeks.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, y'all. How's it going? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank y'all for this workshop. This has been really, really like amazing and like needed. And I thank you. Thank y'all both so much for this. Yeah, so I'm Jesus. And I guess I'll just read what I wrote. Is that cool? Awesome. My father wanted my hands to talk to stones. A sun met the wrists, could someday know the rock wall conjure of sun and cement. The fingers, gloved in callus and flagstone, would surely grip the steering wheel he wanted to make my heirloom. Looked at my baby palms and said, someday you'll let me rest. My wrists, embarrassed at their future failings, poured flour into the bowl, then carrot shavings and spices and raisins, replaced the cooking oil with melted butter, fresh squeezed orange juice instead of water, made a fist around the wooden spoon and mixed, buttered the pan and baked, and after all my hands could do was reach into the heat for all the ways I loved him, I let it sit and rest, let the heat settle before I took a blade to it, and served him all I could do. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you,
Yeah,
thank
this
you.
is how that felt to write about that.
It was surprising. I've been thinking a lot about what caretaking for the self means lately, and for me, it's turned into baking a lot and cooking and um and when we talked when the prompt about the first person I think who really tried to instill hardness in me was my father. Despite the fact that I think he's also an incredibly sensitive person who just does not, who does a lot of work to not be that, and who's always worked with rocks. And so yeah, I've been thinking a lot about him too. Yeah, so it was really good. Thank you all for this.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Alan.
Thank you for sharing. Wow, I feel so full by just hearing the three of y'all share.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also interesting, Alan, you mentioned that the idea of masculinity and patriarchy and very strict gender roles is a thing that's come up several times in the workshop, as well as like rock and earth imagery. Yeah, I think it's important to think about with tenderness the ways that that institutional structures and what's the word, like compulsory ways of being restrict us, restrict the amount of tenderness we allow ourselves to feel, and also just like restrict the images of ourselves we allow ourselves to have.
Yeah.
You know, and that extends to others as well. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jesus. That was great. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think, Alan, we have time for maybe one more person to share.
Let me see if anybody has messaged. Okay, I think we don't have any new messages, so I think we might be good so far.
Okay, if there's no one else, then we can go ahead and start wrapping up a little bit. This is okay. I was gonna close with a poem from America Mine. Do I still want to do that? Do you want to hear another poem? Just put it in the chat if y'all want to hear another poem.
Oh, somebody just said that they would like to share.
Okay, great. Let's bring somebody else on.
Bringing them on in a sec. I think this is so cool how we can just create digital community in this way. Wow. Y'all, when Ariana and I got on the phone, I think we talked for maybe 2.5 hours. It was one of the longest phone calls I've had in a while, and I'm so happy that this is working.
We were very much like, we do not want to do Zoom. Like, we do not want to do something on Zoom. I'm so tired of Zoom. Plus, they're the feds. They just announced that they're the feds. So,
They are.
Yeah, one of the tentative workshop titles for this that I didn't tell you about, Alan, but I was like, oh, what if we called it like the like fuck Zoom series, you know, or something like that. I don't know.
I love that. Okay, so I'm up to bring Sarah in 1 second.
Yay! Hello.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so glad to hear you. We're like yelling at each other.
I know. I was like, I'm so happy to be here. I'm really happy to be here. I just want to say thank you, Ariana, and also thank you, Alan. This space is really nice, and I feel like I needed this moment to reflect on tenderness. So, yeah. Before I read my poem, my name is Sarah Nwafor, for those watching, and I use they and she pronouns, and I am also a Nigerian American poet. So, thank you for listening to this. Okay, so this is what I wrote. A beautiful person once said that their greatest achievement was staying lamb tender in a world of butcher knives. And still, years later, my heart shakes at this, at being red meat with so much give. Juju used to call their empathy a sponge, have hardened into a mirror, and I'm learning to do the same. I think the greatest way I can show up for myself is in my boundaries. I can see myself in your reflection without confusing care for you as care for me. Tender is such a tenuous thing. Water is water. The difference between a flood and a stream is the dams we build to hold back. And maybe that's why I quake in the face of such softness. I'm so careful with who I hold and am held by because a love that's born out of scarcity doesn't know when to let go. Maybe the world did teach me to be a bit afraid. Being a bleeding heart in a world that knows so much of how to take, my biggest saving grace is knowing when to stop. My blood was never the problem. It was the draw that made the cut. So forgive me for flinching when I see a knife, but still, a sword is a sword. The power is in how you wield it. Blessing to every rough-handed mother that has scalped the heart of a mango to bleed sweetness on my tongue. Forgiveness for me thinking every blessing was mine to give away. Blessing to me for learning to harvest for myself, to give only from my excess. Blessing to me for safeguarding my heart, my sponge heart. And that's what I have.
Did I
Wow. Go ahead, Alan. Go ahead.
did I get this right on the banner?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, wow. Thank you for gifting us that. Oh my gosh. Boundaries, right? I think when we think about tenderness, at least for me, sometimes when I think about tenderness, I think about being for others as opposed to like being for myself. So thank you for uplifting that.
No worries.
Sarah, you wrote a poem. That's what that is. I feel like, I know we talked about this like just a moment ago too, but I feel like also especially for Black gender marginalized folks, learning how to set boundaries. And you had a line in your poem, something like, maybe could you read it again? It's something like the line is like something like blessings to me for like,
oh yeah,
like everything is not mine to give away.
Yeah, I said blessing to me for learning how to harvest from myself, to only give from my excess. Forgiveness for me thinking every blessing was mine to give away.
Yeah. Because it's one thing to like learn how to be tender, right? Especially if that's not a thing that comes naturally to you. But if it becomes a thing that becomes too easy to you, right? The tenderness of giving parts of yourself away that you might need to keep for yourself. That's really important. It's a really difficult, I feel like, and important lesson to learn and to constantly be relearning, because the world wants you to continue to give up yourself. But I feel like in this poem, you're very much like, no, I myself for myself and some extra for others when I have it. That's so important.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think that your workshop, like y'all's workshop, really like made me think about the difference between like care and tenderness and where that intersects, and just like how I can, keep some and not feel guilty about it. So thank you for making
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for showing up, Sarah, and for bringing a poem. We appreciate you.
No worries. I appreciate you. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Oof. All right. Where do you want to take it?
What is great? Like, would you say, Alan?
I was just saying, where do you want to take it?
I was just gonna say, what a great way to sort of close out the workshop. I was gonna read another poem from America Mine, but I feel very full from those offerings we just received from everyone who shared. So thank you to everybody, to everyone who shared. That was wonderful. Yeah, and like I said, if you would like to share for the next workshop, you can pre-volunteer by sending us a DM on Instagram. So that's at Write With Us Live. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, this was really, really wonderful. Okay, I do want to say, yeah, so I added that extra prompt to the Google Doc. That's yours to take home that question and think about. You can follow us on Instagram at Write With Us Live. We will be doing this exact same setup next Sunday. Alan will be facilitating the workshop, and I will be doing tech support. If you have any questions for us, send us a DM on Instagram or comment on one of the photos on Instagram. That's the best way to keep up with the writing series. And if you enjoyed this workshop, you felt like it was useful, you appreciate the labor that Alana and I put into it, please share this information. Because this is a free workshop series, it's open access, you don't have to register for it. We want as many people to be able to be here as possible. So please let folks know about it if you enjoyed this. Last thing I'll say before I will give things over to Alan, if they have anything that they would like to say before we depart, is that, like I said earlier, if you have any extra funds right now and you would like to support Alan and I putting together this workshop series, okay, ready with the banner. This is our Venmo and Cash App information. You can find me on Venmo and Cash App, Ariana the Poet, and the same for Alan at Migrant Scribble. So that's how you can donate to us. But yeah, other than that, thank you all so much for being here. And I'm going to toss it off to Alan if they have anything else they want to add.
Thank you, Ariana. Absolutely. I mean, next week it is Poems of Triumph. So a lot of the times I think that as people who live, multidimensional worlds and at the intersection of multiple oppressions, it's really sometimes easy to talk about violence and oppression, but how do we talk about triumph? How do we talk about the things that we do well, the moments where we succeed that we sometimes take for granted, or the people around us who we want to uplift and celebrate? So that'll be next Sunday, same setup as this. If any of you have any recommendations, please send them to us on DMs on Instagram, and we will be reading them and hopefully creating this, but with more. Yeah, if any of your needs were not met during this workshop, please let us know. We'll try our best to make the needs met, to meet the needs.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alan. I'm super excited for next week's workshop. And I forgot to mention too, the whole reason we created the Instagram, which was if you wrote something in the workshop today that you didn't get to share aloud, right? Because the format of this only allows us to bring in so many people. You can DM us the poem that you wrote in workshop today, and we can share it on our Instagram page. We meant for the Instagram to be a sort of living digital archive, so that even though all of us cannot physically be together in the same space as one would normally hope for in a workshop, we would still love to hear what you wrote. And we would still, I imagine if you're in this workshop, you would like to see what other people wrote as well and to see what they were thinking. So if you want to share the piece you wrote, just DM it to us and we'll figure out a way to display it on our Instagram, so that there will also be on the Instagram page, there will be updates and information about the series and also the art that you all have generated. So yeah, just stay in contact with us. And Alana, if you don't have anything else, we'll see y'all next Sunday. Bye.
Bye.